Hello everyone, welcome to Vishesh Educational Videos. In this video, I am explaining one of the important topics of database management system, that is relational database design using ER2 Relational Mapping. In the sense, so I am explaining how you are going to design a database by using the ER diagram as the reference, right? So to build a house, we need a blueprint, right? In the same way, to build the database, we need the ER diagram, right? So I will explain that process in this video. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. To get the notification of my new videos, please click the bell icon. And please don't forget to like the video, and please don't forget to share the video with your friends. So let me begin the explanation of relational database design using ER2 Relational Mapping. So see here, just assume that I want to develop a database for library management system. I want to develop a relational database for library management system. So here relational database means what? The database will be in the form of tables. So your information will be stored in the form of tables. I have to design that relational database for library management system. So first step what I will do means I will collect the requirements. After collecting the requirements, I will convert my requirements into diagrammatic format, that is ER diagram. In the same way as house, to build the house, first I have to take the blueprint. Based on the blueprint only I have to build the house. Here also your ER diagram acts as blueprint. I will collect the requirements, I will convert that requirements into blueprint, then I will take that blueprint and I am going to design a database in the form of relational, that is in the form of table. Here the thing is, in a ER diagram we have certain notations. So you can see in rectangular boxes I have represented that, in a oval I have represented some values, in a rhombus I have represented some values, right? So which one you have to consider? What a rectangular means, what a rhombus means, what are the ovals means? Which one you have to consider as what? For example, which one to consider as a table first of all, because your relational database is will be in the form of table. That's why which one you have to consider it as table. In the table, each column will have attribute. Which column you have to consider as attribute, and each row will have record. Which one you have to consider as record? In ER diagram, right, we have to identify which one is for which. For example, ovals are for attributes, rectangular boxes is for tables. That's why see here, book is a table, publisher is a table, member is a table. So each rectangular box in the ER diagram should be considered as a table. See, book, publisher, member, like that. So hope you are understanding. Now I have to decide which one has to be considered as a table, which one has to be considered as an attribute, which one has to be considered as a record. Based on that only I can take a decision which one to consider as a table and how to develop the database in the table format. So this process is known as ER2 Relational Mapping. You will take the ER diagram, you will convert your diagrammatic format into actual table format, actual database. This is just a simple example. There is a steps. I will explain those 7 steps in detail now, where how we are going to consider the notations of ER diagram to convert the diagram into your actual database. This is just an example. See here what you did, you converted your diagrammatic format into relational database. But to convert that, which one you have to consider as a table, which one you have to consider as an attribute, that plays a very important role. So I will explain that whole process now. See here. Here to explain this process, I am considering the company database. See, I am taking the ER diagram of the company database and I'm converting that ER diagram of the company database to the relational database format, that is table format. See, what is the first step? For each regular or strong entity type E in a ER schema, create a relation R that includes all simple attributes of E. In simple words, in this ER diagram, the strong entity, which one is the strong entity? Employee is the strong entity, department is the strong entity. Here in this diagram, book is a strong entity, publisher is a strong entity. Because strong entity means book is having the primary key, publisher is having the primary key, member is having the primary key. Here also name is having the primary key SSN, department will have the primary key name. See, that is the strong entity. It should have the one entity type. Whenever you come across the strong entity type in a ER diagram, you have to consider that strong entity as tables. See, here I considered book as a table, I considered publisher as a table, I considered member as a table. Here also the strong entity department should be considered as a table, employee should be considered as a table. So this is the first step. If any of the entities are there in the ER diagram, consider the entities as a table. Along with that, consider these attributes, that is in the oval shapes, as consider these oval shapes as attributes. See, these oval shapes are considered as attributes for both the table. Very simple. Now see, you are observing, right? I converted my diagram in the form of relational database. I converted my diagram into the table. But here if I say ER diagram, not only the rectangle, not only the oval, so many other things will also be there. So suppose if you get this rectangular box and oval shape, just consider that rectangular box as a table, that entity as a table, employee department entity as a table, separate table, and also include all the attributes. See, I included all the attributes for both the table. Here, which is the primary key? SSN is the primary key for employee, name is the primary number is the primary key for the department. Name is also primary key. It is a composite primary key. Hope you are understanding how I am converting my ER diagram into table format. See, first, this is the first step. If you come across with this strong entity types, just convert that strong entity types, rectangular boxes into table format. What is the second step? What it tells? Not only the strong entities will be there in your company ER diagram, a weak entity will be also there. Weak entity means entity that doesn't have its own primary key. Dependents, that is relatives of the employee, can be the example for the weak entity. Why dependent? You can observe there, dependent does not have its own entity. Does not have its own primary key. Dependents use the primary key of the employee. If employee is there in the company, you can identify the relatives. If employee is not there in the company, how you can identify the relatives? That's why you are using the primary key of the employee in dependent also. That's why it is a weak entity. So if you come across the weak entity in the ER diagram, how you should consider that in a relational database? See, for each weak entity type in ER schema with owner entity type E, weak entity is W, owner entity, that is strong entity is E. Create a relation R. You have to create a relation between the strong entity and the weak entity, and that relation should be R. And also include all the attributes of W as, include all the attributes of E as the attributes of W as the, all the attributes of E as the attributes of W. Simple or composite, no problem. You have to include all the attributes of E as the attributes of W also. And in addition, include the foreign key attributes of R, the primary key attributes of S, right? See, in simple words, you have to include primary key and foreign keys also. See, here, in simple words, I will explain. See, employee is the strong entity, dependent is the weak entity. I am developing the relation here between the strong entity and the weak entity. See, what I am doing here, how I am converting, I am creating the separate table for the weak entity, and I am including the attributes of the employee table only. See, employee SSN, name, relationship. You have to show the separate relationship. What type of relationship this is? Dependents depend on the employee. Also, what you are doing, you are using the same employee SSN for the weak entity also. You are using the same employee SSN for the weak entity also. Hope you are understanding, guys. Same employee SSN is used for identifying the weak entity dependent. So what it tells in ER diagram, if you come across with the weak entity type, to create it as a separate table, include all the attributes of the all the attributes of the strong entity in the weak entity also. Primary key of the strong entity will become the partial key for the weak entity. Here SSN is the primary key for the employee, but employee SSN is the partial key of the dependent, because dependent table is purely depend on employee table. I don't want to confuse you guys. So if you come across weak entity, just create the table for that weak entity. See, I created the table here. I created the table, right? And also I used the same primary key of the strong entity as the key to identify the weak entity also, because employee SSN is the primary key of the employee. I'm using that same key for the weak entity also. That is the second step. If you come across with the weak entity, you should do like that. Next, you will come across some cardinality ratios between the ER diagram. For example, 1:1 relationship. For example, every department in the company will be headed by one manager. That is 1:1 relationship. For example, n number of employees will work for n number of projects. That is m:n relationship. 1:n, like that. For example, one company will have n number of employees. That is 1:n relationship. So you will come across such type of relationship in ER diagrams. So if you come across such type of relationship, what you have to do? See, I will explain this. For example, I will take the 1:1 relationship. If you come across 1:1 relationship, for example, manager manages one department. Department is managed by only one manager. That is 1:1 relationship. 1:1. Department is managed by one manager. If you come across such 1:1 binary relationship, why it is binary? You have two entities. Employee is one entity, department is one entity. Between that 1:1 relationship, employee, that is one department, should be managed by one manager. Remember, manager is also an employee. Manager is also an employee. That's why manager is also an employee first. See, if you come across such 1:1 relationship in ER diagram, what you have to do means, you have to identify the relations S and T that corresponds to the entity types participating R. That is, choose one of the relations, say S, and include the primary key of T as the foreign key in S. Very simple. So what you have to do? You have to identify the relationship. How many relationships we have here? Two relationships. That is, one is employee, one is the department. So in that you have to consider any one here. So I am considering the department here. I am not considering the employee. I am considering department as the separate table. He is going to tell that consider any one. Right? Here I am considering the department, and I have to include primary key as the foreign key here. What is the primary key of the employee here? SSN. This SSN is used as the foreign key in the department table. See, he is telling like that. Yes, if you come across like 1:1 relationship, take any one of the table. That is, in this case, I took the department table. So, and I took and put the primary key of one table as the foreign key in another table. Here I took SSN as a primary key of employee, and I used that SSN in the department table as the manager SSN. Same. Even if it's a manager SSN, employee SSN will be same for manager, because manager is also employee. Just remember that. Hope you are understanding. And also along with that, include all the attributes are included. That is step 4. Suppose if you come across with 1:n type of relationship in a ER diagram, what you have to do? First, you have to identify the relation. The primary key of T as a foreign key of F. Here also same rule. Even if you come across 1:1 also no problem, 1:n also no problem. What is the rule I followed in 1:1? You have to follow the same rule in 1:n also. You have to follow. For example, one employer will be there, n employees will be working under one employer. One boss, number of n employees will work for under one boss. Here 1:n type of relationship. Here also what you have to do, you have to consider a table, employee table. In that you have to include supervisor SSN. Just simple. Here also you have to use primary key as the foreign key. See, yeah, supervisor SSN is a primary key. SSN is a primary key in employee, but it is a foreign key in supervision table. In a supervision relation. Hope you are understanding. Primary key of employee is a foreign key in the supervision. Primary key of employee can be used as the foreign key in the supervision relation. That is possible. Hope you are understanding. Right? The primary key of one relation can be used as a foreign key in another relation. I used SSN here as a foreign key. Supervisor SSN is a foreign key because supervisor is also an employee. That's why. Right? Step 5. If you come across m:n type of relationship, here it is a m:n type of relationship. That is, m employees can work for n number of projects. Right? In m:n relationship, what you have to do? You have to create the table in such a way that you include the primary key of the participant relations as a foreign key in S. The combinations will be the primary key for S. Very, very simple. I don't want to confuse you guys. Here what I am doing, I am considering the works for relationship. I'm considering the relationship and I'm including primary key from both the tables. See, employee SSN, one primary key, department number is another primary key. I'm using the combination as a primary key. See, their combination will be the primary key for S. See, here for the works for primary key from the department, that is department number, primary key from the employee, that is SSN. The combination of the primary key will be included. See, what I did here, I did the same thing. The combination of the primary key is used. In the works for relationship, I included the primary key of the department, I included the primary key of the employee as same. Single primary key. It contains both the primary key as single primary key combination. Along with that, you can include all the other attributes also. Right? You can include the same attributes in the works for also. That is possible. Hope you are understanding, guys. I don't want to confuse you. Suppose if you have any doubts, you can post your doubts in the comment section, right? Next, if you come across a multi-valued attributes, now we can ask a question. What is a multi-valued attribute? Multi-valued attribute means, for example, for a person, degree is a multi-valued attribute. A person can do a engineering, a person can do a MTech degree, or he can do PhD degree. So degree attribute for a person is a multi-valued attribute. Multiple values is possible for a degree attribute. BE, MTech, PhD. So if you come across such multi-valued attribute, you have to create a new relation. This relation include an attribute corresponding to A plus the primary key of the parent relation. For example, see here The multi-valued attribute is locations, because department can have locations in different places. See what I did? I did this multi-valued locations as the separate table only, separate relation only. Hope you are understanding. Right? Here also I created the separate table. I included both the primary keys. Here also I am converting this multi-valued attribute as the separate table. After that, what I am doing? I am including the primary key of the parent relation. What is the primary key of the parent relation? Department number. I included that in my table. I'm doing that. The primary key K of the parent relation as a foreign key in R. I'm using that. Department number is used in my table. I converted that attribute into a table, that is relation. I included the parent relation primary key. Right? After that, location, obviously that value. Here attribute is converted into table. Department location. I included the primary key of the department here. Along with that, location information is also included in your table. If you come across such multi-valued attribute, you can create the separate table for that multi-valued attribute like this. In this way, I can convert my each ER diagrams into different tables. See, first strong entity, we have to create a table. Weak entity, we have to convert that into a table, but with some different conditions. If you come across separate relations like 1:1, 1:n, m::n, again you can convert all those relationships into a separate tables with some differences. How to include the attributes like that. Here also, if you come across multi-valued attributes, again you can convert that multi-valued attribute into a separate table, right? But how to consider the primary key, those things you should be careful. That's all. Right? Hope you are understanding, guys. Suppose if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. And lastly, for each n array relationship type R, that means degree of the relation, that means relationship between two or more entities. Whatever, suppose whatever the points we discussed now, all the types of relationships are binary between two entities only. You can observe. But suppose if you come across the relationship where the relationship is between two or more entities, two or more tables, what you have to do? You have to create a new table. After creating the new table, you have to include the primary key of the relations participating in R as the foreign key is in S. That means, yes, if any relationship is there between the two or more entities, just do one thing, just create the table, take the primary key of all those relations and make it them as the foreign key in the new table. Make them as the foreign key in the new table. Next, all the remaining simple attributes of R map to attributes of S. Obviously, when you do the attributes of one table as the foreign key of another table, obviously both the attributes will be related. You know that foreign key concept. And also, the primary key of S is a combination of all the foreign keys that represent the participants. Remember this thing. So here, what he is going to tell that whatever the primary key you are going to select for for this type of table should be the combination of all the attributes. When creating the primary key, don't consider the single attribute. No. Instead of that, what he is going to tell means take all the attributes, make the primary key as the combination of all the attributes. Right, guys? So this is the rule. Separate table, create the separate table, make the attributes as the foreign key in the another table, in the new table. You have to convert your attributes as the foreign keys. Then to select the primary key, just select all the attributes, not the single attribute you have to select. So I will brief this entire process in a simple words, in a short period of time I will brief it. So see here, first what you have to do when you come across with the strong entity type, so you have to create a separate table for the each entity. Here I created a separate table for the employee, I created a separate table for the department. I included all the simple attributes, whatever the attributes are there, I included all the attributes for separate tables. See, for employee I included SSN, last name, first name. For department I included number and the name. In the second step, if you come across weak entity, what you have to do means you have to create the separate table for the weak entity. After that, you have to include the primary key of the strong entity as the partial key in the weak entity. Here the employee SSN is a partial key in the weak entity dependent. You have to do that, right? Step 3, if you come across 1:1 type of relationship, for example manager manages the department, if you come across this type of relationship, what you have to do means you have to create the separate table only for this type of relationship. After creating the separate table, you have to choose any one here between employee and department. I choose the department. So the primary key of the department, primary key of the employee is used as the foreign key in the department. See, SSN is used in the department because SSN is the foreign key, SSN is the primary key in the employee, but it is used as the foreign key in the department. So just do like that if you come across 1:1 relationship, right? And also whatever the attributes of the employees are there, you can include that attributes in the department also if you want. You can do that if you want. Next, if you come across with 1:n relationship, same step will be repeated. For 1:1, for 1:n also, same steps of 1:1 is also repeated, right? You are going to make the foreign key, primary key of one table as the foreign key in another table. For example, here you can see employee SSN is used as the is used as supervisor as SSN in the 1:n relationship. Hope you are understanding, right? And also if you want, you can include this simple attributes. If you want, you can do that. Last, fifth, M::n relationship. So what you have to do means in this also you have to create the separate table, that is for this works for relationship. You converted this work for relationship into a separate table. So the name of the table is what? Works for, right? Works for table. So after that, what you have to do? You have to include the primary key of the participant relations as the foreign key in S. So primary key, SSN is the primary key in employee, but it is used as a foreign key. Department number is the primary key in the department, but it is both these primary keys are used as a foreign key in the works for relationship. But what is the primary key for the work for relationship? Primary key is the combination of both employee SSN and department number. That's why it is telling that their combination will be the primary key. So what is the combination? Employee SSN plus department number will be the primary key for the works for relationship. That's all, right? Step 5. Step 6. If you come across with any multivalued attribute, what you have to do? You have to convert that multivalued attribute. Here location is the multivalued attribute. I converted that multivalued attribute into a separate table, that is department location first. Next, after that, what you have to do? The relation will include an attribute corresponding to A plus the primary key K of the parent relation. So see, so I included the attribute location as the attribute in this table. See, I included location, same location attribute as the attribute in the table. Along with that, the primary key of the parent, that means primary key of the department will be the primary key of the department is what? Department number. The same primary key of the parent relation will be included in the table also. Department number is included in the table also. And also the primary key, whatever the primary key, here for example, if for department location table, the primary key will be the combination of both location and department number. Both location and department number, because you can't make the location as the primary key here. in a same location, department offices will be in two different offices can be there possibility. That's why location can't be used. That's why you have to use the combination of both location and the department number. That's why he's telling that primary key should be combination of both location and department number, that is A and K. Hope you're understanding. If you come across any relationship that is between more than two entities, what you have to do, again you have to create a separate table for such type of relationship, and you have to consider all the attributes from all the tables as the primary key if you come across such type of relationship. Right guys? So hope you understood the concept. Suppose if you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video.